with up to green add-on rarity and a few perk restrictions. After that, no add-ons at all on Cold Tower. And to end it off, we're going all out on Dead Dog Saloon with no restrictions at all. I hope you enjoy. Alright, and there we go. Actually, Virtual is using Compound. He's not using double speed. Interesting. I mean, it's a very strong perk. Usually it's banned in the comp setting because it's just way too strong. And yeah, like the nurse doesn't have to predict, she knows everything.
Piper.
Sure. It's probably not a bad idea.
Are we on mute anyway, so I can say whatever the I want?
We're not on mute.
Oh, okay.
Kimberly Kessler, a woman of many identities, was charged with first-degree murder. In May 2018, it was announced that Jolene Cummings, a mother of 3, had gone missing, but her corpse had never been located. However, in December, a jury decided that Kessler was responsible for her death and deemed her guilty. But there were some discrepancies here.
I want to get rid of the public defender's office. Yeah, exactly. Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolie's cousin.
However, Judge James Daniel wasn't having any of it and said that the punishment would be carried out regardless of whether or not it was necessary. The court first ruled that Kessler lacked the mental capacity to stand trial, but then clarified that she was able to comprehend the allegations that were being made against her. Kessler refused to take part in the trial and caused multiple scenes in the courtroom.
Chair, why don't you remain here much longer?
We may want to put her on mute while we finish this shit. It's fine.
Let's just put me back on myself.
Ma'am, come back.
Jordan Beard is Jolie Cummings' cousin.
Kimberly Kessler was found guilty of murdering Jolene Cummings and will spend the rest of her life behind bars for this crime without the possibility of parole.
So I've been assured she'll be on the first bus tomorrow out of town. And when she leaves, we're gonna have cake and ice cream.
You will conclude there's no way all that stuff could happen to a person who is innocent and falsely accused. The only reasonable explanation is the defendant is guilty.
Martise Fuller was arrested for a list of charges: first-degree intentional homicide, attempted first-degree intentional homicide, and burglary with a dangerous weapon. Fuller was responsible for the shooting that resulted in the death of his 15-year-old ex-girlfriend Kaylee Juga and the critical injury of her mother, Stephanie Juga.
Martise Fuller broke down after a jury found him guilty of killing Kaylee Juga and attempting to kill her mother, Stephanie, in May 2019.
According to the prosecution, Fuller placed the responsibility for his dismissal from school and banishment from the football team on Kaylee and Kaylee's mother.
Police only found the gun because Dontrell Seymour led them to it. In a sewer in Racine County.
The prosecution referred to Fuller's intimate knowledge of the Juga house and Kaylee's daily routine. In their house, Kaylee was killed instantly after receiving 5 gunshot wounds.
She was such a kind-hearted person. She could light up a room and could always bring a smile to anyone's face. Martise Fuller ruined it all.
Also, her mother Stephanie positively identified Fuller as the one who she confronted on the 2nd floor of her house and who afterwards shot her as she attempted to hide. Stephanie discovered Kaylee later, lifeless and lying on the floor of her bedroom. For the murder of Juga, the judge handed down a sentence of life in prison. Additionally, Fuller was charged with an extra count of battery by convicts for his participation in a criminal act in prison.
You do not stand before this court with a damaged childhood. You don't have a history of mental illness. I don't have any ability to trust that you will never commit these acts. You are a very dangerous and a damaged human being.
I cried openly when I read Nick Juga's letter. I did that because this is a man who has spent his entire professional life protecting this country and protecting all of us as individuals.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
The Darrell Brooks case was an interesting one because the crime was horrific, but it wasn't all that shook the surrounding witnesses.
Interruptions and disruptions.
There were 6 fatalities and many injuries from this tragedy, but his actions inside and outside of the courtroom are just as horrific. The prosecution showed proof that Brooks intentionally drove into the crowd. In a criminal complaint, an officer is reported as claiming that when he stepped in front of Brooks's vehicle and told him to stop, Brooks just gazed straight at him and seemed to have no emotion on his face.
Do you know why the vehicle was beeping his horn?
I imagine that the driver was angry and wanted to get through the crowd.
On his social media accounts before the violence, Brooks had advocated for the use of force against police officers and against Caucasian individuals. According to reports, Brooks allegedly referred to himself as a terrorist and a killer in the city.
Well, I got one ear that worked, and I heard that.
This is to benefit you so that
No, it's
you
not.
understand
Ain't none of
your
this to benefit
witness
me, so let's
has
be
a
clear about
prior
that.
record.
After 2 days of testimony from victims and family members, Judge Jennifer Doreau imposed a mandatory sentence on Darrell Brooks. He was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Frankly, Mr. Brooks, no one is safe from you. This community can only be safe if you are behind bars for the rest of your life.
Cloud Tex MacGyver, age 79, is being charged with felony murder in connection with the death of Diane MacIver and faces a sentence of life in prison.
The court saying that the jurors should have been able to consider a lesser charge and that they heard evidence that they shouldn't have. There was never any dispute that MacGyver shot his wife. The question at trial was whether he meant to.
On the evening of September 25, 2016, a close friend of Diane MacIver was driving the couple's Ford Expedition. The 3 of them were returning home from the MacIver's horse property. On their trip, Carter takes an exit in the middle of downtown Atlanta to avoid traffic on the freeway. And a short time later, MacIver fired the pistol, hitting his wife in the back of the head.
But if I might just state it very directly, because I know she's here, I feel her presence, I feel her word. Darling, you have brought me more joy and fulfillment than few men on this earth have ever known. Thank you, and until we are together again.
In June 2022, the Georgia Supreme Court overturned the conviction for murder, stating that the jury should have been given the opportunity to charge him with the lesser crime of misdemeanor involuntary manslaughter. The Supreme Court did not overturn his conviction for influencing a witness, even if it did overturn several of his previous convictions. Cloud Tex MacGyver was found guilty in 2018 for felony murder in connection with the death of his wife, Diane MacIver. He did indeed end up facing that sentence of life in prison.
I didn't ever hear you say you're sorry for what you did. To me, that silence speaks volumes.
The verdict reads, we the jury find the defendant Kevin Dean Eastman guilty of murder in the first degree after deliberation.
A man from Greeley who was charged with murdering 2 individuals in 2020, one of whom was a well-known trumpet player in the Greeley area. He was a mainstay in the Denver band, the Movers and Shakers. According to the Larimer County Sheriff's Office,
this man, this animal, this piece of this preyed on the idea of your humanity. Yet you had none for those that you encountered on February 14th.
I tried looking behind me to see if anyone could help me, but all I saw was blood on the floor.
Today is the day that it all begins. The day of my massacre shall begin. From the wrath of my power, they will know who I am. My name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school trooper of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people. Location is Stoneman Douglas.
This evening, what we're now learning at this hour about the suspect, Nicholas Cruz.
When you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am.
17 people killed in a mass shooting at a Florida high school.
You're all going to die.
the trial for the Stoneman Douglas High School shootings has come to a close. Families and friends of the lost ones shared their emotions. The survivors shared their experiences through trembling voices and tears of fear. Stories that will make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Not only was the day of the shooting one of the most horrific days in US history, but also a day that was meant for roses, chocolates, and secret admirers. But where there is love, there is hate. And unfortunately, hate turned this day of love into a day of bullet holes and body bags. In this episode, we're connecting those horrific memories and explosive outbursts with the events that happened that day. It was February 14th, 2018, when Nicholas Cruz entered his former school with an AR-15 and murdered 17 and injured 17 more. The nightmare began when Cruz arrived at the school grounds with an arsenal of weapons in a duffel bag.
I picked him up and he comes in the car and he told me he was going.
No, I shot. What? What? But how? pump had shot. Would have been a clip. God, he's got a shield.
Into his music class.
And do you remember Mr. Cruz being anxious and nervous when you dropped him off?
Yes. Well, that's what I feel.
It was 2:20 p.m. when Cruz made his entrance. Cruz had been in the school for only a minute when he encountered the first student. Luckily, freshman Chris McKenna ran into him while he was preparing and loading his AR rifle. Chillingly, Cruz calmly told him, "You'd better get out of here. Things are about to start getting messy." McKenna didn't need a second invitation to leave and ran desperately for help. At that moment, Cruz opened the door, entered the hallway, and drew first blood.
He walks over to 1215, where Martin Duque, Luke Hoyer, and Gina Montalvo were, and he fires into them.
After the first 3 murders, Cruz stalked the hallway but found no victims to prey on. He continued peeking through classroom windows and shooting at anyone in view. 6 lives were taken. Alyssa Alderheff, Nicholas Dworet, Elena Petty, Helena Ramsey, Alex Schachter, and Carmen Schentrup. Some of the survivors from the first floor told their chilling stories.
We heard shots.
And from there we dropped to the ground and started running towards the window.
But when they were fired off again is when we started to move and hide.
However, our teacher realized that by the window was right in view of where the window was in the door.
I didn't know how many times. I just knew I was hit. I tried looking behind me to see if anyone could help me, but all I saw was blood on the floor.
We were just sitting, kind of like sitting ducks. We had no way to protect ourselves, no way to stand up for ourselves.
When the fire alarm went off, I also thought that hopefully they knew what was going on and so that they were coming soon, but I ended up passing out.
He injured 4 people in my classroom, one of them being fatal.
I was shot 4 times in my right arm, my right lung, some of my ribs on my right side, and I had surgery on my abdomen.
I'm not exactly sure why, but my initial instinct was to pick up my phone and start recording. And so I did. I took several videos of what was happening.
Daniel Gilbert's videos were played live in court. Some of the relatives understandably couldn't handle it and had to leave. It was 2:22 p.m. and 1 minute had passed since Cruz first pulled the trigger of his AR-15 before 911 was informed of a shooter at the school. Teacher Brittany Sinich was the one who made the 911 call.
I heard what I described as just the loudest noise you could possibly imagine, going directly into my hallway.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello, we're at Stoneman Douglas High School, and I think there's a shooter.
30 seconds after the call, Cruz entered the second stage of his massacre. He purposely pulled the fire alarm in an effort to herd the students and teachers, who were unaware that there was a shooter at school, directly into the hallways as trained. It was at this very moment Cruz eyed his next target in the hallway. Coach and teacher Christopher Hickston.
Mr. Brent Hickson was an extraordinary man. There is no mitigating circumstance that will ever outweigh the heinous and cruel way you stole him from us. After today, I don't care what happens to you. You'll be sent to jail. You'll begin your punishment. You'll be a number. You have taken enough from me and my family. You wanted to see the family suffer. Well, no more.
A year ago, in this very building, you told us that you had remorse for what you did. Well, where was your remorse when you saw my father injured and bleeding out on the floor and decided to shoot him for a 3rd time? Your defense preyed on the idea of your humanity, yet you had none for those that you encountered on February 14th. You are, unfortunately, living proof that evil does exist in our world.
By 2:23 p.m., Cruz had made it across the first hallway, entering the next stairwell with 70 rounds less than when he started. It was at this moment when he collided with Aaron Feiss, taking his life immediately.
The teachers and students on the second floor, they heard that. So they didn't follow the procedure of evacuating when there's a fire drill. They fired the procedure that if there's an active shooter, you get away from the door, and you turn off the lights, and you be quiet. He fired 6 shots on the second floor. And he goes to the east side stairwell to go up to the 3rd floor.
And all of a sudden, a ton of kids started pushing backwards and running to the other side of the hallway.
And they run as fast as they can to get back into their classrooms for safety. When the defendant walks up the east stairwell, there's the teacher helping his students get in.
Imagine getting super strength and then just getting shot out of the air by somebody else with it. That's just... I only hit max pumps.
To his classroom. His name was Scott Beagle. He was 35 years old, and he was teaching geography. The defendant pops out of the east stairwell door and fires into Scott Beagle 4 times, killing him. And he falls right in the entrance to his classroom.
And we had a clear view of the door, and we noticed that the door wasn't closed. It was wide open. And our teacher, Beagle, his body was partially inside of the classroom, and then his torso down was outside of the classroom. And his body was blocking the door and holding it open.
Unsurprisingly,
Beagle's father gave an emotional speech in court addressing Cruz directly.
My son Scott was a human being. He still is. Something you will never be and never were. He has a soul, he was kind, he has a character, and he cared for his fellow human beings, something you never did. This day has been long coming. Didn't know how it would feel right now. Don't feel any better because he's still breathing. The day he stops breathing, I will feel better. This man, this animal, this piece of shit, this bastard took the lives of 17 people. Okay, you should only rot in hell. You fired 139 rounds of ammunition on that thing. 139. You could have stopped at any freaking time. After the first freaking bullet, you could say, oh my God, what am I doing? But you didn't. You have to walk past Jamie Guttensberg's body like she was a piece of trash on the floor. You show no remorse. You have no redeeming values. You're a coward. You're a freaking coward. You dressed up to blend in with the people you terrified that day. So don't tell me you had no planning abilities. The fact that I have to share my world with you is disgusting. The fact that I have to breathe the same air you breathe is reprehensible. What will happen to you in jail? You'll be passed around like an inanimate object. You'll be someone's and you deserve it. Passed around from group to group until you get tired of it. You will be a commodity, traded like bubblegum, cigarettes, drugs, or candy.
He even declared his birthday wish.
My 70th birthday is February 2024. My hope, my prayer for my birthday present is to get word that you are dead. That the justice system was done in jail. That the prisoners that you and inmates that you have to associate with executed the judgment that this court can't. Prison justice is when your fellow inmates execute the death penalty that you deserve, that you'll be wishing that the state of Florida had executed you in the compassionate way they must by law. In spite of you, in spite of that cold stare, in spite of that ice water that runs through your veins, in the fact that you have no remorse, no feelings for anything or anybody, we will survive. These 17 families and all the victims of your heinous crime will survive. You are the worst kind of animal. One of the mitigating factors why you are a human being. Trust me, you are not. You are the lowest form of pond scum, and I apologize to pond scum for equating you with them. You are spineless and soulless monster.
Next to Scott Beagle's classroom is 1255, and that classroom was an English teacher, Stacy Lapel. But as she's the last one there to close the door,
Oh my. Oh my god, it's just, there's never any ammo in this gun.
the defendant shoots at her and wounds her.
You don't know me, but you tried to kill me. I will have a scar on my arm in the memory of you pointing your gun at me, ingrained in my brain forever. I am broken and altered, and I will never look at the world the same way again. I see you in my nightmares and in my daydreams, and not a day goes by that I don't think about that horrible day. Because of you, I will never feel safe again. I am disappointed and disgusted with the verdict that was handed to you. You do not deserve the best case scenario, and under any circumstance, the idea that you, a cold-blooded killer, can actually live each day, eat your meals and put your head down at night seems completely unjust. I have no forgiveness in my heart for you. You are a monster with no remorse, and every breath you take is a breath wasted.
The last leg of Cruz's rampage was about to start, and it carries some of the most gruesome and emotional details in the trial. Cruz now aims his AR-15 towards the west end of the hallway.
He fires and hits and wounds Kyle Lehman.
The hallways emptied, like, for me personally, it emptied super fast. I blinked and everyone was separated, gone, or on the floor. I felt like a very strong paintball shot to my right foot. I realized that I was like, I feel something wet in my foot. I'm hearing shots going off, people are screaming, and at that point I kind of stopped and trying to look for an alternative method to see if I could be. So I took the opportunity while he stopped, at least for temporarily, and I darted to cover. Since I was running, he targeted me, started shooting at me. I remember hitting the wall, and as soon as I hit the wall, I could see debris from the walls of at least 4 to 5 rounds coming off of the wall. So he aimed at me, I'm assuming. I was like, oh my God.
He fires and hits and wounds Marin Kapachenko and Anthony Borges.
At that time, I didn't know. I just felt like one shot.
Right.
But I got 5 times. So.
Pardon?
5 times.
5 times? Where were you shot?
In my leg, my other leg, and the back, and over here in the arcing. I decided to go out down to the stairwell. That's when I saw the gun and just closed the door and started running. Then he shot me, and then I saw this door like half open. Then I closed it, and then I just lay down there, waiting for everything to stop.
And as he passes classroom 1249, the defendant shoots both Harold Logren and Meadow Pollock as they were huddled in the alcove. Jamie Guttenberg was racing down the hall to get to the stairwell door, and she was shot. Jamie Guttenberg was able to reach the door, but she collapsed on the 3rd floor stairwell, and that's where she died. Peter Wang was shot, and he was lying in the southwest corner, right in front of the west stairwell door. Peter Wang was shot 13 times. The defendant, he shoots again, and he hits Joaquim Oliver, and Joaquim Oliver ran into the alcove of the men's restroom. He looks into where Joaquim Oliver was wounded. He was shot in the leg. He couldn't run. The defendant fires into and kills Joaquim Oliver.
Joaquin's father and girlfriend had some of the most impactful moments in the entire trial. When you try to imagine the position that this father is in, you'll begin to wish you hadn't.
And I saw how this doctor was explaining the autopsy of Joaquin. Details that I was avoiding. Because I always hoped that Joaquin did not suffer. But he did suffer. You shot my kid 4 times. You his marvelous brain and ideas and dreams. You destroyed them. You shot him 4 times. You needed an AR-15 to do that. Because otherwise Joaquin would have eaten the of you. But you were a coward enough. And you can be cowards in this life. hiding your actions, the middle finger thing. Apologizing for a middle finger. You need to learn how to do a middle finger. So you don't need to apologize to anyone. You're gonna die before me. And I will celebrate when you die. I heard you saying that you don't want to suffer. You don't like painful things. You understand that you will suffer and you will go through pain. A lot of pain. It would be much easier. Die like a king in a supervised way that everything goes. I wish I could die like that. That's not your future anymore. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and someone will replace your fame.
He takes off his vest, lays it down on the third floor landing stairwell, takes his rifle, lays it down, and he runs out.
These gut-wrenching testimonies give us a glimpse into the horror of the 2018 Valentine's Day massacre, but can only begin to illustrate what it was like being there in the flesh. When the last bullet casings bounce on the floor, the rampage has seen 17 injured, 17 fatalities, and hundreds of lives shattered. But there are still 2 more insane moments that happened before the day in 2018 came to a breathtaking end. We'll head back to court to see how they played out. It's 2:27, and Cruz has managed to elude law enforcement. Now, looking like a civilian, he attempts to blend in with students and act normal.
Right here is when I had turned around and I saw the shooter was standing behind me. I see him and I turned around and, I hadn't seen him in years. I spent the first 2 years at another school. And I realized he was standing with another friend of mine. When I realized that, we kind of collided in the line. I said hi, he said hi back, and I said, do you have any college plans? And he said, somewhere in Florida. At that time, we got filed into one line. He was right behind me. And at that time, I was still trying to find friends of mine. I was on the phone with my mom, hysterically.
Cruz sees the ever-increasing presence of police on campus, and so makes his way to a Walmart and then casually into a McDonald's. But what Cruz does next will leave you enraged and at a loss for words. You really couldn't write this.
Nick Cruz came and sat down right next to me.
All right. Did you know who he was?
No.
Ever meet him before?
Never.
Just sat down?
Just sat down next to me. I didn't think much of it because I was panicked. So I was just trying to get back home.
So what happened when he sat down?
He just sat down. I didn't think much of it. He was just, I figured he was from school because of what he was wearing.
So what happened then?
He asked me for a ride.
The boy who Cruz was attempting to get a lift from. Well, that's John Wilford, and if you're thinking his surname looks familiar, that's because it is. John is the older brother to Madeline Wilford, the poor girl who was shot 4 times on the first floor. So while Cruz is nonchalantly hitchhiking a ride home from John, John has no idea that he is responsible for critically injuring his own sister only minutes earlier. As I said, you really couldn't write this.
And then I remember seeing him again on, I don't know exactly what road it was, but I saw him walking.
The path these families take forward will always be stained with the blood left behind from their loved ones. The trauma will last a lifetime. But for all those who helped tell today's story, a new and much longer chapter in healing has now begun. And while Nick Cruz managed to avoid a death sentence by law, it sounds as though most of the families and the victims have high hopes that prison will be able to dish out its own form of justice to Mr. Cruz. So what's left to say really, except roses are red, violets are blue. Leave us a like and subscribe if you're new.
committed the worst possible crime.
In Orlando, Florida, the trial of Scott Nelson. 55-year-old was charged with first-degree murder. He admitted to kidnapping and killing 56-year-old Jennifer Fulford. During trial, Nelson took the witness stand.
You may see.
And delivered shocking testimony with unsettling candor.
Who killed Jennifer Fulford?
I did.
4 months earlier, Nelson, a career criminal who'd spent more than a decade of his life in prison, was released on parole after doing time for armed robbery. He claimed he was getting his life back together until he lost his job, his place to stay, and ultimately his will to live within the bounds of society.
You kick a dog enough times, they tend to bite back. And really, they just don't care anymore.
The prosecution argued Nelson was further tormented by the wealth that surrounded him in upscale Winter Park, Florida.
These were the people who had nice homes that you couldn't live in, never would live in.
I was hungry. I was starving to death on the streets of Winter Park. People don't give a damn about nobody in this world. They don't care.
Nelson admitted he began plotting a home invasion with the hope of stealing enough cash to run away and escape his parole. He can be seen in this security camera footage purchasing supplies.
You bought zip ties.
Yes, I did.
You bought duct tape.
That'd be correct.
You bought a knife.
I sure did.
You, at that point, formed a plan to use those items. You knew that somebody was going to pay for how you've been treated.
That is very accurate.
Nelson then coldly explained how he picked a location to hit, an expensive Winter Park home where 56-year-old Jennifer Fulford worked as a nanny.
Your plan was you were going to force your way in.
No, the doorbell works better. She opened the door and let me in.
But then pressed on the details of what then happened inside the house, Nelson appeared to have selective amnesia.
Did you take the comforter off the bed so that you could wrap Jennifer Fulford in it because you wanted to conceal her from the outside?
No,
You didn't wrap her in the comforter.
I didn't do that. Maybe she did. Maybe she was cold.
Say that last line again.
I said maybe she was cold. I don't know. I know she ended up cold.
Nelson's sick humor does not elicit a reaction from the prosecutor, who lets him sit in silence, allowing his words to sink in with the jury. Nelson didn't take anything of value from the home. Instead, Nelson forced Fulford into her car and is seen here using her ATM card to withdraw cash before driving roughly 20 miles south of the city. In a secluded area, according to Nelson, he opened the back of the car where Fulford was laying, still alive.
Why did you bind her hands behind her back?
I would imagine so that she couldn't leave.
Why did you bind her feet with duct tape?
I imagine so she wouldn't walk away.
And why did you wrap her entire head in the duct tape?
Probably so she couldn't scream.
No, I think so.
Off a dirt road in an area thick with vegetation, Nelson stabbed Fulford to death, then left her body.
I never intended to kill that woman. It was not in my heart to do that. It wasn't what I had planned. I didn't want to kill that woman. She never done anything to me. I believe the term is collateral damage.
Surveillance video from the ATM, as well as DNA evidence found in the victim's car, helped seal Nelson's fate. He was found guilty of the first-degree kidnapping and murder of Jennifer Fulford. Facing the death penalty, he again took the stand during the penalty phase of the trial.
How has your mental health been affected by your previous incarceration?
I am a homicidal maniac.
The jury sentenced Scott Nelson to life without parole for the murder of Jennifer Fulford. For our next story, we need to warn you. It contains images that may be disturbing for some viewers. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee for the trial of 32-year-old Joel Guy Jr. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and the vicious killing and dismemberment of his own parents. Joel Guy Sr., his wife Lisa. It was the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. Lisa Guy had not shown up for work and her employer made a call to police.
I have an employee that has not reported for work today and highly unlike her. Can somebody go by and check on them?
When officers arrived, they discovered a grisly scene.
Pharmacist motherfucker.
Bitch, what's at it? Bitch, try to suck on my dick, on my tip, it's for the rock, clip the grip with my grip, my hollow point tip, the lip, because if it's so on my way, bitch, move it, fuck it up, wiggle up with too many bands, pop started up, but what I got in my pants, but your stomach, fuck, they keep a strap up on my waist, I got a hollow tuck, like damn, move out my way, got new money, come on, bitch, stack my paper, leave his ass, what I got, catch it, case, new whip, no keys, electric, race, like what the fuck, you bitch, you check, you fake, you walk the way, you faced it.
Inside, police found the remains of Joel and Lisa, who were both stabbed over 30 times and dismembered. Their son, Joel Jr., was the first and only suspect. He'd spent Thanksgiving with his parents, made charges to his father's credit card after the murders. His parents had been supporting the 28-year-old for years, and recently told Guy they were cutting him off financially. Police believe Guy was angry, hoped to cash in on his parents' life insurance policy. He was charged with first-degree premeditated murder and abuse of 2 corpses. He pled not guilty. At trial, the prosecutor described the viciousness of the attacks and Guy's attempt to eliminate the evidence. All while Guy listened to the graphic description of the crime scene.
He covered them with a corrosive substance and left them there to liquefy into some sort of diabolical stew of human remains.
The jury was shown surveillance footage of the defendant with a hand wound, buying products, apparently to help dispose of the bodies.
She paid for the tubs that she and her husband disintegrated in.
And perhaps most incriminating was Guy's notebook, which contained written excerpts outlining his plan, including one that read, "Get plastic sheeting for disposal process," and "Money all mine, $500,000. After hearing all the testimony and reviewing the evidence, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder of Joel Guy Sr.
Count number 2, please.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder of Lisa Guy.
Before sentencing, family members gave impact statements about the victims and nightmare they were forced to live through.
The next day after we buried Joel and Lisa, my mother died. She truly died of a broken heart. The impact of this crime is notorious. We will never, ever be the same.
I am Joel and Lisa's daughter. You'll never know what it is like to have to tell your children that their grandparents have been chopped up and put in acid.
The last person to speak was the judge, Steve Sword.
This was the most extreme form of abuse of the court I've seen in 25 years.
I don't see any potential rehabilitation in Mr. Guy. I was watching him during the trial. He showed absolutely no remorse of what he had done. Quite frankly, Mr. Guy, you look like you're kind of proud of what you had accomplished.
Guy was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 4 additional years for his treatment of the remains. He won't be eligible for parole until the year 2071, when he'd be 83 years old.
Indicate for us just approximately where he's seated and what he's wearing?
I don't know.
Next, we're in El Cajon, California, for the trial of Qasim Al-Amidi, who's been charged with the first-degree murder of his...
One hack deck. No, he's faking it. Oh, that was insanely well played by Nightlight. He blocked the collision from the Blight. Oh my god. What you guys saw in those 10 seconds was so many high-level mind games that a newcomer would probably not even notice. Nightlight is delaying incredibly well here. He's honestly should have been dead 5 times over. And yeah, well, if you have compound, you can't hide in that corner. Very well played. Nice. Let's look at it in progress. Okay, 1 duo gen pops, 1 solo gen just started. This is generally the meta against top tier killers. You want to do 1 duo gen, and ideally you pop that gen before the first chase starts. That was a very good chase by Nightlight. Nah, there's no way he gets that. But you're kinda going for it there. Did not work out. He doesn't have Brutal anymore. He has Barbecue and Chili, which is kinda an adaptation to the bigger map. You don't need Brutal as much anymore for zoning reasons. And we want to get him out. That is off the record though. You can see no R from Compound 21. Gonna make it a little bit harder. He's gonna drop this, obviously. And this is probably where he doesn't have anything anymore. This is where Light becomes too strong. Yep, Virtual is playing it incredibly safe. Dan is starting for the unhook right here. Wait, he did not get... No, he didn't even unhook, did he? Didn't get Deliverance. And now he's trying to get it. Oh! The compound proc? What? Did he not see it? Oh, that was an insane hit. So Dan wants to go down for him, so he makes absolutely sure he gets Deliverance, so that Nightlight survives for the 12 seconds that it takes. And looks like he gets main building now. Very nice. So how much is that worth though? Oh well. Off the record actually. Oh yeah, true. He protected off the record with the second hit. Very nice. And that is a very good filler pallet. Let's see what Nightlight can do here. Oh, Nightlight is dying under the pallet, so his teammate can save him. And now, there's probably some Sprint Buster sitting in the corner behind some random bush.
Spawned middle. It's very bad. Good thing I have Lethal Pursuer to fix that problem. Yep, when you spawn middle, you get a dog shit corrupt split. Actually, the corrupt split isn't as bad as you would think. Definitely not the worst one you can get with this one. Oh my god, what was that hit? I'll take it, however. Oh shoot, I need to put a crosshair on. Okay, there's a crosshair. I see him behind us. Couldn't turn fast enough. I saw all of them. I'm not gonna be a big mistake. I knew I heard Kate behind me. I heard Kate's breathing right here. Big tap to gem. Okay. Just can't be in the second stage since they gave me the opportunity. Oh, so annoying. Yo. That should have been a hit. No off the record. Might be a decisive. Putting a chest on top. We'll let them heal. Chismas didn't end immediately, that must mean still in the area. There's no pallet there. Only did that because of rain. No way she takes the window. She did. Kate didn't get behind her, the body block, very bad play. Just get this kill, don't get greedy. Can afford to hang around the main building and camp a tunnel like that because they all crowd around and they don't get gens. If they went to do gens, I'd be on like 2 gens and some progress right now, which would be really bad. But they didn't, so I got away with it. Good timing, but he didn't run away immediately, which leaves me. He was honestly completely safe. I did that to not hit the dead hard.
His wife, Shema Alawadi. 2 years earlier, the couple's then 15-year-old daughter discovered her mother badly beaten but still alive inside the family home.
Now Kate will have to get off her gen. Yep, there's Kate, off her gen.
As I remember, she was on her, kind of like on her side. Her face was on, face to the ground, and the blood was in her face.
A courtroom camera was not allowed to show the witness's face due to age and privacy concerns.
I heard the ambulance look across the street. I put my mom down, and I ran to the street. I'm like, please just come in and get her.
The victim was rushed to the hospital, but died days later after being taken off life support. The death tore the family apart. Despite his sister's powerful testimony, the victim's son believed his father's alibi. Qasim Al-Amidi claimed he was driving many miles away from the family home when his wife was attacked. But cell tower data placed his phone near the home at the time of the murder. During this early hearing, Al-Amidi's own daughter refused to look at him from the witness stand.
You indicated for us just where he's seated and what he's wearing?
I don't want to look.
Al-Amidi maintained his innocence throughout the trial, as his attorney painted him as a loving father and husband who was devastated when he had to take his wife off life support.
He said, take my brain and implant it in her. I'll pay you any amount of money. Save her life.
The prosecution, however, claims it was not such a happy marriage, and Al-Amidi was upset that his wife was planning on filing for divorce.
The person who did this is right here.
But with the absence of a murder weapon or any DNA evidence linking Al-Amidi, it's hardly an open and shut case for prosecutors.
California plaintiff versus Qasim Al-Amidi defendant. Guilty of the crime of murder.
After hearing the guilty verdict via translator, Al-Amidi has a delayed reaction. First, an unnerving smile. Then a hand gesture likely directed at the judge and jury. To pray. But Al-Amidi isn't the only one with a strong reaction to the verdict. From the gallery, his son cries out in his defense. And has to be restrained by deputies. His father then yells out in Arabic. Meanwhile, it appears a woman in the gallery is praying as both Al-Amidi and his son are restrained and removed from the courtroom. Qasim Al-Amidi was later sentenced to 26 years to life in prison for the murder of his wife, Shema Al-Awadi. Next, we head to Atlanta, Georgia, for the sentencing of Tex McIver. The 75-year-old attorney was found guilty of felony murder in the death of his wife, Diane McIver. The defendant claimed he accidentally shot McIver. Prosecutors believe she was killed for her money. McIver pled not guilty, but after a trial lasting 19 days, he was convicted. Before sentencing, friends of the victim make heartfelt statements to a packed courtroom.
The actions have traumatized me. I lost sleep because I so wanted to believe that it was an accident.
This has been one of the saddest and most horrific incidents that's happened in my life. To have lost my friend of over 40 years that was more like a sister than a friend has broken my heart.
Next, it was McIver's turn to speak, which is what he did for 15 bizarre minutes, touching on just about everything. Everything that is, except the crime.
Last week, on one given day, I received 11 different pieces of mail. One is a lady from Ireland. Then there is the most unique individual I think I've ever corresponded with. His name is Trent Jones. He's a racehorse jockey in Perth, Australia. But his favorite racehorse, Hobart, has been retired just this year. And now he and Hobart are free to step into the surf in Perth and play.
The surreal statement continues as McIver moves on to his next subject, thanking his friends in the community.
Friends delivering Chick-fil-A, one of my huge favorites, one of the things I miss the most, I guess.
done, he hit one more subject completely unrelated to the murder. His godson's favorite basketball team.
He's a huge fan of the Golden State Warriors. Instead of anything, I had to say go Warriors before this season was over with.
Finally, he gets around to discussing the relationship with his late wife of 11 years.
The luckiest day of my life was when Diane chose me. And in doing so, we started a relationship that was, can only be described as amazing. We loved each other like small children. We just couldn't believe it was that good.
He goes on to explain just how deep their connection was.
In fact, it became, if people are able to believe it, telepathic. And my conscience would hear these words, is this truly real? She had telepathically communicated those words. Is this truly real? It is truly real. It is truly real.
Before announcing his sentence, Judge Robert McBurney offers a reaction to MacIver's words and peculiar choice of subject matter.
I'll tell you what's most telling. You had as much time as you wanted to share with me what you thought was important for me here, and we heard about racehorses in Australia, and Chick-fil-A, and telepathy. I didn't ever hear you say you're sorry for what you did. To me, that silence speaks volumes.
All that was left was the sentence.
The penalty for felony murder is life. I'm going to sentence you, count 2, to a term of life with the possibility of parole.
MacIver was sentenced to life in prison and is eligible for parole after 30 years when he would be 105 years old. We're now in Idaho Falls, Idaho, for the case of Marshall.
Hey boys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Mr. John to work and then I'm gonna come back and take you unless you guys want to ride with me.
Alright.
How's that sound?
Good.
Michael Hendricks. The 31-year-old was charged with second-degree murder after he shot and killed a friend following an argument. Witnesses say the victim, a 30-year-old male, believed Hendricks was having an affair with his girlfriend and confronted him. Hendricks claimed that during the altercation he thought his friend was reaching for a gun behind his back, so he pulled a .40 caliber pistol and shot him in the face. No.
Piper, you're a kitty kitty. All right, Piper. Nope, 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 nope. Picking you up now. Hey, Adam. Yeah? I don't think Piper likes being picked up too much. Piper, come here. Pick her up. Feel like sleeping. Oh my goodness, get through. Okay. Here we go. Come here, Piper. Hey. Like me. That's rude. Taylor Swift out here. Gonna have to kill. I don't think she wants to be picked up. It's pretty hard to pick up a dog who doesn't want to be picked up. Yeah, well, that's the attention from you. Come here. She's like a cat. He's so scared. Nabby nippity dog, come here now.
You boys will be okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Max is greedy for pettings.
Alright.
I'll pick him up.
He just followed me up to my bed.
He's naughty.
I just caught her in the bathroom with her head in the toilet thinking it was her.
Yucky cat.
So I'm just throwing it out there.
Her head was in the toilet.
So I could maybe eat crap, but the cat is literally drinking. No, that was candy. Well, Max likes candy. So, circle's complete. We're all nasty animals, man. I swear.
Well, maybe you should like close the doors.
We're all like poop and all kinds of stuff.
Nasty cats.
Hi, my name's Panda.
See ya. Why do you have to go into work so late? Ah. Them being stupid made you go in. No eerie stone. Is he camping or something? Why is nobody on Jen's end? Nobody's rescuing. Sloppy butcher, slow disarms. Any traps? Oh, I'm happy to use this pallet, Mr. Trapper. It is. He respected it for some reason. I respected it again. How about you keep respecting this pallet, sir? That's gonna be a dead hard. Ooh. Please don't be trapped. I'm just gonna take a risk. Damn it. Kobe dwell on second stage. A Kobe second stage. That's pretty rare to get. Okay, this is not trapped. That's bad. Come on, bro. Could have saved the syringe. So I was gonna get adrenaline anyway. Mr. Bloodlust Andy over here. Bro, the bloodlust is crazy. So lame.
The gun was found on the victim. Facing a possible life sentence for second-degree murder, Hendricks is about to enter into a plea agreement with the prosecution.
Would you like me to go through the terms as the court sees them, and I'll verify whether these are your understandings? Okay. So as the court looks at the plea agreement, it states that you would be pleading guilty to the amended charge of voluntary manslaughter and the use of a deadly weapon in commission of that offense.
By pleading guilty, Hendricks' charge will be reduced to voluntary manslaughter, and the state will recommend a sentence of 10 to 25 years in prison. The judge, however, reminds him that the recommended sentence is not binding, meaning it's in no way guaranteed.
Each of the parties will come to the sentence with their own recommendation. I'm not bound to follow the terms of the agreement, but I'll exercise discretion in fashioning the sentence. Does that make sense to you? Did anyone pressure or coerce you into this plea? No, sir. Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily? Yes. How do you plead to the amended charge of voluntary manslaughter? Guilty. Can you now share with me what it is that makes you guilty of that offense? Yes.
After pleading guilty, Hendricks now has to relive the moment he took his friend's life.
On September 2nd, 2019, I got into a conflict with a friend of mine, and scared. When I seen him behind his back, I thought he would reach for a gun. And I didn't wait for his hand to come back out, to be sure. And I shot him. And I killed him.
Visibly shaken, Hendricks continues to answer questions that confirm his guilty plea.
And just to accommodate specifically what was found in the language of this offense. This was done without malice and forethought and premeditation. You accept that? Yeah. You've already acknowledged that you took the life of this individual. Is that fair? Yes, Your Honor. Say, and that was done by shooting him with that weapon. Yes. Very well. There is a factual basis for the plea, and the court will set the matter for sentencing.
Marshall Hendricks is currently awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter with a deadly weapon. He could face up to 30 years in prison.
Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam. Subscribe to A&E to never miss.
We go to a sentencing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The defendant is 18-year-old Brendan Wazinski, who's charged with impersonating.
It's a night, bro, of course. He really thought I would drop the pallet and blow up the window, bro. Oh. Yeah, not at night.
Being a sheriff's deputy. 6 months earlier, Wazinski was driving an unmarked car with a police siren when he pulled over a driver for speeding. Albuquerque police officer Danny Anzo came upon the scene and, thinking something off about the situation, decided to check it out.
Can I talk to her for a minute? Who do you work for?
Early Country Club.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm under-equipped.
Okay. Do you have an ID with you?
I mean, this is all I got. I mean, like I said, I'm under-equipped. I was just heading over there to the courthouse.
To the courthouse for what?
To get my crap.
Okay.
The wannabe cop sticks to his story.
I know, it makes no sense. I caught him going 120 down I-40.
The officer has Wazinski hang around while he checks on his story.
San Montanano Pity.
While he waits for a response, Anzo casually chats with Wazinski. One officer to sort of another.
And I'm not here to mess with you, man. It's just the thing is, yeah, he was speeding, dude. You could have called it in. And, because if you get into shooting, you're
right.
All right, man.
I understand. This, for starters, I know this looks really bad. This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
How long you been on?
About 3 years.
Okay. I've been on for like 13 years. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you need to be a little bit more careful, all right?
Yes, sir.
So just do me a favor, hang tight for a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
It sounds like the officer might be letting him go. Not so fast. Anzo requests a supervisor from the Bernalillo Sheriff's Office to come down to the scene. In the meantime, he puts Wazinski in the back of his cruiser.
Do you have anything on you, man? Any weapons or anything? Okay, that's fine. Just have a seat, all right? All right.
It looks like this bizarre game of good cop, fake cop may be coming to an end. So Wazinski comes clean.
Can you talk real quick? Yeah, give me 1 second. What's up, man?
Alright. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be.
Did you get that badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay? For a second.
After discussing the strange situation with his sergeant, Enzo makes the next move.
Back in my car. Hey, Brandon, step out of the vehicle for a second, man. Can you face the vehicle? At this point right now, you are being under arrest. Understand? Okay.
Before heading downtown, Wazinski sheds a few tears in the back seat.
So I need you to lean back a little bit. Thank you.
Can I please help my wife?
I'll give you, when we get to the substation, we'll give her a call, okay?
Wazinski's formally charged with impersonating an officer, a misdemeanor, and a second officer takes him off to jail.
Yeah, buddy. Can't be pretending to be a cop.
Yeah, I know, I'm stupid.
Lesson learned, right?
As they head downtown, the reality of the situation kicks in for this counterfeit cop.
One hell of a thought to know that in about 2 minutes I f***ed my life pretty damn good.
Now, as he stands before a very real judge, instead of fighting the charge, Wazinski pleads no contest. He's sentenced to 1 year of probation. The judge also rules he can't carry any firearms or handcuffs and must undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
Because I do not want any kind of reoffense on this kind of case. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
But this sham sheriff story doesn't end there. Wazinski violates his probation by failing to get that psych evaluation. But he gets a break when the judge gives him an extra 2 weeks to complete the evaluation. When told of his extension, Wazinski presses his luck.
I can try the best I can, Your Honor. I mean, I have honestly a lot going on right now, and it's stressful. But I will try my hardest to get it done.
Okay, so just to let you know, we all have a lot going on, and it is very stressful for everyone, but this is very important, and I'm not going to give you longer than that.
Wazinski did eventually complete his evaluation and was able to avoid jail time. And hopefully his days of impersonating an officer are over.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
As for the driver Wazinski pulled over, he was, of course, free to go. Next, we go to the Miami-Dade courthouse, where Judge Catherine Pooler is presiding over a bond hearing. The defendant, Calvin Lloyd Griffith, allegedly broke into a local school and stole an employee's car. Griffith was arrested and is here on charges of grand theft, burglary, and trespassing. He also violated his probation from a previous car theft.
Calvin Lloyd Griffin Jr. on page 12. Good morning. Mr. Griffin is charged with burglary, petty theft, grand theft of a vehicle, and trespass. And he's on probation.
He's out on probation, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm on probation. I'm on paper.
Okay.
Officer be in here anyway because I smoke weed and cocaine. So the officer... I smoke weed and cocaine.
The court officials decide to cut Griffith's mic off to prevent him from talking over everyone.
So the officer...
Okay. You're Calvin Griffin?
Mr. Senator, the bond press.
Oh, okay.
As Judge Pooler continues looking over the paperwork, Griffiths continues to try to get the attention of the judge.
Okay, let's see.
But with Judge Pooler unable to hear Griffith, he decides to try a different approach.
Your Honor.
Not impressed with Griffith's twerking abilities, the judge moves on with the case.
State is requesting that your honor set the bond, but reset the case in division tomorrow because his actions violated his probation.
Judge Pooler agrees with the state attorney and sets Griffith's bond at $18,500.
And there's a stay-away order from Miami Edison Senior High. If you should get out, do not go back there. You're not a student anymore. Okay? Thank you for coming in.
As the judge moves on to the next, less entertaining defendant, Judge Pooler looks back fondly on her time with Calvin Griffith.
Oh, the last guy come back and teach us how to dance. Pretty smooth guy.
Next, we're in Newark, New Jersey, where Judge James Convery is overseeing a divorce hearing. On one side is Benjamin Taylor. And his attorney, Yvette Ramos Alvarez. And on the other is his soon-to-be ex-wife. To establish Taylor's total yearly income, a copy of his Social Security earnings statement has been requested by his wife's attorney.
Now Ms. Kolsky comes back after everything was finished except for the Social Security earnings statements, which he doesn't have.
He gets his Social Security every year in the cave.
The earnings statement?
He gets it every year. He gets it. He gets it every year. So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it?
He doesn't have it.
He threw it away? Oh, come on.
As you can see, Judge Convery is not buying the dog ate my homework story. So he decides to do a quick courtroom poll to prove his point.
Don't you get it? I get it. You get it? You get it? Everybody gets it. Social Security sends it to your home every year.
Alvarez, however, disagrees, based on her own experience.
No, I don't get it. They sent it to my home 4 years ago. I haven't received it in the last 3.
This is the final moment before Judge Convery says something he'll regret.
Well, when did you become an illegal alien?
Judge?
Alvarez is taken aback by the judge's comment. Not only is she of Hispanic descent, but she's also the former president of the Hispanic Bar Association of New Jersey.
Judge, I am going to. That was a totally inappropriate comment.
I didn't mean it. Listen to me.
As Judge Convery tries to backpedal, Alvarez moves forward, right out the door. Then comes the awkward silence. Alvarez returned to the courtroom 10 minutes later. Judge Convery apologized, but the damage had been done. Alvarez later filed a misconduct complaint against Judge Convery, which, along with other public complaints, led to a public reprimand by the New Jersey Supreme Court. Next, we're in family court in Las Vegas, Nevada. 26-year-old Monica Contreras is here to vacate a temporary restraining order filed against her by her estranged husband. The routine hearing lasts just a few minutes, and Contreras' 2-year-old daughter joins her just off camera.
So I'm just going to close the case out and dissolve the order.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
But before Contreras is able to leave, courtroom marshal Ron Fox takes her to another room to perform a drug search, while her daughter plays with hearing master Patricia Doninger on the bench. Moments later, Contreras is back in the courtroom, but there's a problem. She begins telling the other courtroom marshal that she wasn't comfortable with how the drug search was performed.
Where are you alleging that my officer did?
He said, can I just have you pull up your shirt and show me that there's no drugs in there? I said, well, I really don't think that's a good idea. I think I'd rather have you. I'm just offended that he asked me to do that.
Still searching Contreras' purse, Marshal Fox doesn't like what he's hearing.
Okay, so store stands, handcuffed her.
Why
You bring
would I
her
be
in.
handcuffed? Why would I be arrested?
Hold on.
For what, sir?
Hold on.
Okay, it was. Why would.
think that's Superior Anatomy. Fire up, maybe. Because I was gonna guess Bamboozle, but the window ain't blocked, so. No way that hits.
Making a false allegation against a police officer? In this context, that wouldn't even be a crime in Clark County.
For what?
Hearing Master Patricia Donninger turns her back on the situation.
Please tell me. Can you please tell me?
Then, without getting any further explanation of the charges, she asked to have Contreras' daughter removed from the courtroom.
Can we do something with the little girl?
If you could call up Child Haven for me.
Child Haven is the county's child protective services facility. In just a matter of minutes, Contreras went from appearing at a routine court hearing to getting arrested and now having her daughter taken away from her.
You're saying it.
Now turn around and we'll also add something.
Okay, stop. What did I do to anyone? Leave me alone, please.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. I don't want to do charges. I don't want to do anyone. I just want it to end.
Jimmy, I got court. I still have to do this, so arrest her. I take the kid. We're done.
Why would you do that to me, sir?
Because you're making
I'm
false
not making
allegations.
false allegations, sir. Why would you put me in this position? I'm a good person. No, I don't want to deal with this, please. I just want to end it. Okay, it was all lies. It was all lies. It was all lies. It was all lies. Let me go home, please.
So
Why would you be arresting me
on
right
record,
now?
on tape, in the courtroom.
I just want to go home, please. I just want to go home, please.
Sounds like Contreras is going to recant her statement about the marshal's inappropriate handling of the drug search. Or maybe not.
That's what happened. You put me in the room and you asked me to lift up my shirt without a witness. You asked me to lift my shirt without a witness.
As she's handcuffed in front of her young daughter, Contreras singles out Hearing Master Donninger for seemingly ignoring her pleas for help.
How could you do this to me? How could you what? How could you what? You asked me to pull up my shirt. Leave me alone. I don't want to go to jail. I'm just trying to defend myself. He said, can you please pull up your shirt without a witness? He said, can you please pull up your shirt without a witness?
You already lied. It's on record.
I didn't lie.
Contreras is taken to jail, formally charged with providing false information to a police officer and disturbing the peace. Her daughter's turned over to special services until the girl's father picked her up later that day. 2 months after the incident, Contreras filed a complaint against Marshal Fox, claiming that in addition to improper protocol, the officer also groped her breast and buttocks during the drug search. An investigation by Clark County Internal Affairs would validate her claims. She was later awarded $200,000 in a court settlement. As for those responsible for the courtroom injustice, the perpetrator, Marshal Ron Fox, was fired immediately following the investigation. Marshal James Kenyon was later relieved of his duties, and hearing master Patricia Doninger was out 2 years later after the video went public. Next, we're down under for a hearing in Adelaide, Australia. Daniel Nicholson, a 35-year-old father of 4, has been out on bail awaiting trial for weapons charges. Whether Magistrate Sue O'Connor will allow him to remain out on pretrial release.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No, you can stop.
Apparently surprised by the ruling, Nicholson turns to his attorney.
What's going on with that?
But before he gets an answer, Magistrate O'Connor shuts down the conversation.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Miss, please, miss. Please, miss. I'll tell you what please, miss. Law and order.
Just moments later, perhaps realizing he's about to be locked up, Nicholson decides to bail himself out of the situation. Inside what's known as the dock, Nicholson steps up onto a table and delivers a punch to one officer as he tries to restrain him. After slipping through their fingers, he's able to get one foot on top of the divider and launch himself onto a nearby table, and then into the arms of this officer. With the courtroom descending into chaos, a woman makes a plea on Nicholson's behalf. But as he continues to push his way toward the door, more officers pile on before he can make it there.
Go to the cops. Don't do anything silly.
Daniel Nicholson later pleaded guilty to attempting to escape custody, 2 counts of recklessly causing harm to a prescribed emergency worker. He admitted to being under the influence of crystal meth at the time, saying he was just, quote, freaked out. Nicholson was sentenced to 21 months in prison with parole eligibility after 1 year. As for the original weapons charge, he pled guilty and was ordered to pay a $320 fine.
What's going on with that?
Next, we head to a virtual bond hearing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Judge Tabitha Blackman presiding.
Demetrius Lewis on page 26.
The defendant is Demetrius Lewis, who appears remotely.
sir. How are you?
Lewis is charged with possession of an illegal substance and attempted burglary, a felony which could send him to prison for 5 years. But today, he's got other things on his mind besides his legal situation.
Judge, you're so gorgeous, Miss Judge. I just have to tell you, you're gorgeous.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
With the entire Zoom watching, Lewis makes a not-so-subtle play for the judge. Notice the reactions from the other parties, including prosecutor Eric Linder.
Judge, you're so gorgeous, Miss Judge. I just have to tell you, you're gorgeous.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Maybe Lewis's charm will help his cause.
All right, Mr. Lewis, flattery will get you everywhere, but maybe not here.
Or maybe not. Judge Blackman remains focused on moving forward with the case.
The court finds probable cause on count 1, burglary, occupied dwelling, unarmed. Count 2, possession of MDMA ecstasy.
She then asks the state for its recommendation.
Your Honor, I'm recommending a $7,500 bond, no victim contact, no return. Noting the allegations, Your Honor, there were 3 children present in the home that Mr. Lewis was attempting to break into.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Linder.
Lewis objects, but the judge moves on to the defense and then renders her decision. She sets his bond at $5,000, which is significantly better than the $7,500 requested by the prosecution.
You're gorgeous.
Next, we're in Charleston, West Virginia for a pretrial hearing.
Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon.
Henry T. Eldon is in the courtroom, but he is refusing the magistrate's order to come forward to the defendant's table.
I told him twice I had no response. Get up here in this seat right now.
That's right, the judge called him thrice. Eldon is facing multiple charges, including fraudulent official proceedings and fraudulent service of indebtedness related to falsely filing claims with the court. Today he's joined in the courtroom by a friend who's recording the proceedings on his cell phone and getting involved himself.
I'm a witness, okay? Okay, what I'm saying is, he is present, and he's chosen not to step up there. He's asking not for a appointed lawyer, he doesn't need an attorney.
So you're acting in the capacity
I'm not
of a lawyer?
acting. I'm a witness. This is American National.
American National.
American National is another nod to the sovereign citizen movement that both he and the defendant identify with. Eventually, Eldon does respond to the magistrate, Ward Harshbarger, but still refuses to come forward.
I think they're both there. Are you sitting in the back of me? No.
We're gonna get like, dude, we're gonna get a GM. I'm not.
Okay, alright, okay. Now this, my friends, this is hilarious. This is pretty funny. Okay, this is pretty funny. Okay, this, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny. Okay. Okay, she's gonna play this McCutcheon, which I'm not really in the mood for. So I'm gonna play something I'm gonna play something simpler here. Okay, let's go knight e2 c3. I'm gonna go g4 and f5 here. Just take the pawn, knight g3, f5, h5. Let's go king f2, knight g3, f5 next move. Okay, g6 is reasonable. I think f5 is still very strong, so I'm just gonna play f5 anyway. Okay, that's reasonable. I just go bishop e3, stop any threats here. I can always take if I want. Not super concerned. I can obviously just take and take on a 7. Sorry, 1 second. I gotta play around with this. Okay. G5 is probably just winning here. GH5 is also good. Queen D3 actually might just win on the spot. But I don't want to go Queen D3, so I'm just gonna take and go Knight F4. Let me move this over just a little bit. Knight F4, hit the rook. Okay, now I just hit the rook, I hit the pawn, I just win. Okay, bishop h3 is strong. I mean, is g5 really a threat? Not really. So I just go here, hit the rook. g5 I just take and then I check and it's just game over. And also take. Okay, what exactly does that do? I don't understand. I just take. If she takes, I just take with check. If she takes, I just take and I'm up a piece. Yeah, it's just game over. Take with the knight or the pawn, both moves are good. Just gonna take with the knight, keep it really simple. I'm just gonna throw in a check. I think I can check too. Let's go check. Go check. Rook c1, and that's game over. The pin is too strong. Alright, we win. Let's keep going.
Well, okay, well, get up in your seat now, and we will wait for that. We got some preliminary things. We're all waiting for the court reporter to do it now. All right, this is State versus Henry C. Eldon Jr. Mr. Eldon, I need to have a seat at the defendant's table.
For the record, I'm
Shut
a
up and
witness.
sit down. You sit down and not say another word.
Seemingly getting more aggravated, the magistrate turns to his courtroom deputy for assistance.
What do you get, Mr. Allen? Let me show you where the seat is, please. May I have permission? You may have a seat right there. You may have a seat right there.
Eldon finally gets up to the stand before the judge, but it won't be for long.
You are going to be held in contempt.
All right, Mr. Eldon, can you stand up for me, please? Turn around, place your hands behind your back, if you would.
And who are you? And do you have a warrant, a signed
I do
warrant?
not have a warrant. I've just been made aware by the judge that he wants me to take you into custody for obstructing judicial process, okay?
But before the magistrate had the defendant arrested and cuffed, he pulls a final move out of every parent's playbook and counts to 3.
Have a seat. Two. Have a seat, please. I would like to speak, and I have information to present. I don't know how I'm instructing. Last warning. Get in the seat and we'll proceed.
Again, locked in a stalemate, the magistrate decides to just get down to business.
How do you plead? I would like to see your oath of office. I'd like to see your letter accepting and acknowledging your office. And I would like to see the same for the prosecuting attorney. And you know the names of everyone in this room. I need that before I understand what's going on, sir. So the answer, and I will answer for is not guilty. Okay? I haven't made any plea, nor should you make one. All right. I don't accept that. I don't accept anything that's happened here today. I did not give your own position. Scorch him out. Court's adjourned.
court wouldn't confirm the details, but according to Eldon, he did not appear for his next court hearing and was arrested on a bench warrant and served 2 weeks in jail. He also says the original fraudulent service and fraudulent official proceedings charges against him were later dropped. Next, we're in Bakersfield, California, for the arraignment of Tobias Roman. The 27-year-old was charged with multiple crimes, including attempted robbery, threatening with attempt to terrorize, and exhibiting a deadly weapon for allegedly stalking a female employee at a shopping mall.
Roman, stand up.
And now his initial hearing is off to a rocky start.
Stand up, Roman.
Once on his feet, the judge then asks a standard procedural question.
Mr. Roman, what is your true and correct name?
Tobias, my first name. That's it. Giggles of Tobias. That's it. Don't call me now.
Giggles may be his street name. There's nothing funny about the crimes he's accused of committing.
This time I will appoint a public defender to represent Mr. Roman, charges Mr. Roman for attempted robbery. Mr. Roman,
After being interrupted and then told to be quiet, Judge Charles Bremer gives the defendant a final warning.
you got one more chance and then you're gonna be removed before choice.
For a second, it appears Giggles might quiet down, but his silence is short-lived.
I guess I could stay with you.
Hey Adam, what do you think of the new killer that released 5 minutes ago? Yeah, but she's shaped a bit weird.
Oh, she's a killer?
I don't really like. Yeah. Hey, there's two survivors you can rate too.
What's she gonna do? Do my dishes?
Yeah, she's kind of shaped weird. She's not that attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, she is supposed to be a killer, but. All right, here are the two new survivors. Oh, that's the guy. Can't really tell from the picture if it's a guy or a girl, but this is the guy. There we go. Talia Lythra.
Looks like a wannabe teenage girl who's really 40 and having this life crisis.
Bro's got oh my god, I'm gonna loop killers in flip-flops.
That guy kinda looks like a lifeguard.
I'm just gonna put on Dead Hard real quick. Oh my god, I'm gonna loop killers in flip-flops with this survivor.
Why do you look like the one dude named Steve from Stranger Things? Your hair.
Headset hair.
Yeah, but you look like Steve from Stranger Things.
Really?
Yeah. Well, now you're trying to mess it up.
Oh my god, I don't even know what their perks are. Let's see. How useful are these? That's weird. Useless. Some pretty useless perks. Yeah, all these perks suck.
But as he's being led out of the courtroom, Roman gets in the last word.
I'm gonna murder you when I see you. I'm gonna murder you when I see you.
The judge heard that comment loud and clear.
I admitted for the record, Mr. Roman's statement on the record that he will murder me if he sees me, and I'm going to request law enforcement take the appropriate action.
Tobias Roman later pled no contest to the charge of threatening a public official and was sentenced to 8 months in prison. Of his original charges, all were dismissed except for threatening with intent to terrorize. He pled no contest and was sentenced.
And now it's the time for Virtual to find them. This is a very annoying situation, as oftentimes this buys way more time. Yep, see? Like, I was literally right. This buys way more time than Nightlight could in a chase. Because Blight is so strong in chase, they're dying under the pallet and letting your teammates do the work is just better. Oh, what? Insane play by Virtual. In the end of the lunch, he cannot break pallets anymore, and at that point, it's very easy to hit the survivor instead. Very good early hit there. And Zaka's trying to do everything to not allow the turnout. We're looking at 1 gen left already. Ooh, very nice block. They bought so much time here. They bought so much time. Be a drop. Oh, perfect. He didn't even collide, so there's nothing he can do. Fast fatigue. The teamwork is coming in clutch. And again, they...
Ormond. Well, as far as I know, this is an M1 killer. Oh my god, am I slower? Is this a... Why my sensitivity feel weird? Is this a 110 killer? What the heck does this do? Oh my goodness, wait. I remember a game Otts had on Ormond once where he was playing Hag, and he said that he wanted a killer that has cameras when he was playing as Hag. I remember that. Is this that killer? I'm undetectable somehow. Why is this killer so short? Can't see anything. Oh, this killer doesn't have a power. Oh my. So the killer doesn't look good. It's just an M1 killer. It's slow, short. Who would play this killer?
They're forced to take to hit him, and I think this is where everyone is injured and he can actually focus on Nightlight. The teamwork we have on this is insane. This is what only the best teams can do. No one else can do this. This is not something you see in your normal matches. Oh wait, he's actually taking the... Is he giving up on the turnout? He has barbecue chill, yeah, he's giving up on the turnout. He says it's too late. I'm not gonna interrupt gens anymore. Oh, the gen failed! He's gonna take the pop and try to play against 4 people. But this is already kind of a concede. He's like saying, I'm not gonna kill anyone, I'm just gonna play Fox Edges. I cannot get one out and still control the dance. So Unbreakable is obviously already this. And everyone is injured. He can still snowball to some degree. They're probably gonna reset now. Yep. Somewhere in the corner on the edge of the map. The client has been found. Oh, that was so risky. Oh! Good dead hard by Zaka though. He breaks it back. Like the dead kit, medkit, like more often than not, what you see in comp matches, if the medkit has DS, dead hard for the people. It's like the most common scenario. The meta loadout, if you want to call it. Okay. Interesting. Oh, Night has been found. Imagine it hits. But the thing is... Nice, good prediction. I think Nightlight is on balance, right? And we can see the counter to the crouch stack. Against Blight, Yeah, it's not a perfect. Like, you can try it, obviously. Like, there's nothing else you can do here. Nightlight is completely zoned. Might as well try it. But if you hack the survivor and you look down, you will actually hit them. Nice try, though. Very well played by Nightlight. Holy shit. He delayed so long. He didn't even have balance. He didn't use his exhaustion pack once. That was pure chase skill. That one time. But it looks like... Oh my god. He can hold gens again. Alright. Well, I'm not sure what's gonna happen now. Can they actually do this? Does Stan get enough chase? No way. Do they get the gen or no? I think they do. Oh my god. That gen's gonna pop. Virgin knows if he stops this gen, he's gonna win. But he's not gonna stop anymore. And that's an adrenaline, if I'm not mistaken. No hit too. Oh, they're both still there. Does he find him? No, he doesn't know. Zaka here with medkit. No, they're both for help. Now it's gonna be really, really difficult. So Access has been hooked already. So like in the comp, like you want to get as many hook stages as you can. And in that scenario, this is like, Access is probably the person you don't want to go for here. But the thing about Dan is he has Deliverance. So in that case, you might want to go for him. The thing is, Access cannot Deliverance here. And that's what Virtue knows. Is Zaka on this one? Yes, he was. He knows. Nice. Free tag. And now both are injured. What's gonna happen here? Dan is going for the pick. Ooh, he doesn't have much here, does he? Zaka wants to go to a locker desperately. If he finds a locker, he's gonna go in. He's gonna go into a locker. No, he doesn't make it. Interesting. This is not looking bad. Ooh! He's been found. Access has been found. He tried to stealth it out. Oh my god. Nah, dude.